capability statement does not get you that offer, that's as far as you will go with a procurement officer, and that's the bottom line. And you'll see as I make this presentation why it's critical that you understand the importance of a capability statement. And just like a resume, there is no one capability statement for your business, just like there is no one resume for your business, for yourself. I personally have about seven resumes that I have in my portfolio, and I tweak all of them: business, education, government, etc. And you'll see where you have to develop these capability statements to decide who are you, what are you using it for, what is the intent, and what do you want from it. Because again, if you do not get that contracting procurement officer's attention immediately, you probably will not, you'll get put in the select file. And so you understand I don't know how many of you all have been in a procurement opportunity or a procurement office in your, even within your division. When you put out a solicitation and you get them in the mail, hundreds of I put out that I want to get my roof done, and I'm going to get 1,000 emails or 1,000 letters in my box and phone calls of people wanting to do roofing. Uh, that's exactly what happens in the contracting office. When I put out a solicitation, I'm going to get 1,000 uh, solicitations from different folks, and I've got to sort through that. That's the admin part that we don't have. And I don't usually do that as a contracting officer or as a procurement person. I'm too expensive for that. The clerical staff that I have are the ones who do the cutting and pasting. They're the ones who do the sorting. And if I tell my clerical, if it doesn't say this, put it in the pile, in the do not consider pile. No different than when I go through my mail, you know, keep keep trash, maybe look later. That's exactly what happens inside of a procurement office. So uh, the emphasis I make on capabilities and your elevator pitch is that these, even though we think they're probably old school and they don't work anymore, that's not true. Consider yourself when you're doing it, especially in the younger generation. And you can see by my age and the lack of my hair that I'm old school, but I do deal with a lot of new millennials, a lot of new Gen Y, Gen Z folks who are into their their technology very, very much more than I am. Even though it's different presentation, it's the same product. Even if you present it to me on paper or you present it to me digitally, it has to have that information, because that's how my folks are going to sort that information. So that's why this is important, and we'll go from here. I'm going to go through the next slides real quick just to get you an idea. We have to do this paid political announcement for our Apex. So next slide, please. We used to be PTAC. We are now Apex. We moved out of DLA into DOD. Most of our effort right now with Apex is to support the Department of Defense. And one of the reasons they brought us back out of the DLA side was, at DLA, when we were under there, we supported every agency. We still do. However, under DOD now, our emphasis into supporting DOD, and the reason we support most of the DOD small business side and development is because the defense industrial base is about 40% short of its small business requirement, and that is a major push. Now, just for your information, and I'll move on, there are three new terms that you should become familiar with and going into res. If you're going to go into the matchmaking, understand whether you're a SIB, a state industrial based business, and those are businesses that are doing federal contracts through the state. For example, the Great American Opportunities Act with DOI, money coming is given to the state. The state then provides funding for the contract, but it's a federal program. The Bipartisan Industrial Act, the Build Back America Act that came in from the trillions of dollars that President Biden and the Congress approved. That's another one of those programs. The money is given to the states, and the states develop the contracts, and you bid on that. And you are then considered a state industrial base contractor. Then there's the government, the GIB, the government industrial base. Those are any agency other than DOD. That's DOE, USDA, Homeland Security, all of those other agencies, the other 29, 30 agencies from the federal government are considered civilian agencies. All those are GIB status, government industrial base. They depend on you to do business with them. And then there's the defense industrial base. That's any contractor that has a contract with DOD, regardless of what tier. You could be an 8th tier subcontractor to Lockheed Martin. You're still considered a DIB. So it's important to let that contracting folks know that are you a SIB, a DIB, or a GIB? Because that tells me whether you're eligible for my effort. Right now, if you're interviewing or looking to contract with DOD, if you are a GIB and haven't made the transition, then they're hunting for you because they're looking for that to fill in that 40% gap. And that's a lot of business. That's about 300,000, 350,000 small businesses that they've got to rehire in order to support the warfighter. So the DIB is the key word. If you are already a GIB or already a SIB, you need to let them know, I know how to play. I just haven't played in your ball game. So that's the important thing. Next slide. Again, these will be provided to you guys. Simple things that I just talked about. Next slide. Big point that all of our services are free. Here's some of the things that we do for you. Your local Apex. We're all over the country. If you're not in New Mexico, make sure you just go into the Apex, and they'll tell you where the locations of your Apex accelerators are. Next slide. And again, there are 6 Apexes that are Native American specific. There are uniques in the federal government that deal with Native American businesses and how you have some credentials. So those are the things that we make sure that you understand that are different. Right now, the big emphasis is on the Indian Incentive Program. That's a 5% rebate that a contractor has, a prime, if he hires a Native American small business. So get a hold of your Apex, your Native American, get a hold of us through the National Center to find out how can you utilize this 5% rebate. It's the old what's in your wallet. Sometimes the difference between an award and a non-award is maybe 1.5 or 0.5 percentage point. If you can offer your contractor, your prime, a reduction in your cost so that they can make up the difference through the Incentive Act, that 5% could get them a lot of contracts. And if they go hunting and they get the bear, you could probably be part of that group that helps dress it up. Next slide. If you're not familiar with these websites, these are open websites to the public. We teach you how to use them. This is where, for example, if you're going out to buy a car, you do your homework. You research a Ford, you research a Mercedes, you research a Cadillac. You do that before you go to the dealership. You don't go to a Cadillac dealer looking for a Peterbilt truck. The same way with your contractor. You don't go to USDA looking for construction, although USDA does have constructions. But then again, this is where you need to, and these websites that we teach you how to use give you an idea of what are they looking for, who's buying what. Even though maybe the USDA is doing construction, but they're not doing highway construction. They may be doing field construction. They may be moving mountains. They may be doing all kinds of other land construction that you can do, dredging, pipe fitting, cleaning out rivers, etc., setting up levees. All of those things that the USDA may do in construction, you need to find out that whether you can or cannot perform those. Next slide. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of it. I'll start off with the capability statements, and then we'll go into the elevator pitch. Now, I get a lot of chuckles from young business owners who they don't think the elevator pitch is that important. You should know what I do. Well, I hate to tell you, and I hate to burst your bubble, but the you see all the commercials on television for any new car, the electric vehicles, etc. These are commercials that are coming. The government doesn't come out and tell you, hey, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is what you do. It's not what are you selling, is what am I buying? What can you do for me? And you got to keep that in the back of your mind. Now I get, my younger clients, my younger business people, they just roll their eyes at me and say, you're old school. That's not how we do things. Well, that's fine. But a lot of old school the Federal Acquisition Regulation, and I'll tell you where I started. I started back in 1980, so I'm kind of aging myself. The FAR has very few changes, just like the law. I don't care if you're an 80-year-old man or a 25-year-old young man. If you're speeding, you're going to get the same ticket. You're going to go through the same laws that apply. So the Federal Acquisition Regulation and the Interstate Commerce Code hasn't changed at all. So the rules are the same. It's just a different approach. So take that with a grain of salt and take it from this old guy. Use your tools, but make sure that we still gotta build hammers. If you look at construction sites, a lot of them are still being built the same way that they were built 100 years ago. Except they used hammers back then. You guys use electric staplers. Same product, different tool. So let's go to the capability statements. Next slide. Go ahead and push next. Make sure, go ahead and put all of them in there. We'll save some time for later. I can't tell you how many times, and it happens. I send out to all of my clients, send me your current capability statement, and they send me their advertisement. Nowhere on the page does it say capability statement. When I get stuff in the mail, just like you do, is it a bill? It goes in here. Is it an advertisement for roofing? Yeah, it goes over in the garbage. If it doesn't say capability statement, you can't imagine how much mail, either through email, through all of the social network, you've got to say, this is my capability statement. Old school, when you submit a resume, and I get that from my granddaughters now who are getting to the point of having to submit their resumes. Grandpa, why does it have to say resume? Sorry about that. Because you're telling me this is my resume. This is not my doctor's listing. This is not my biography. This is my resume. It's got to say this is a capability statement. You have to include your core competencies. What can I do? Now, you're going to see there are 3 types of capability statements later. This is important. This is where you get into your resumes. Typically, even if you're making an application online, whatever, if you're applying for a teaching position with a school district, you could be a math teacher, an English teacher, a history teacher. You don't care. You're telling them, I am a teacher. I have teaching credentials. Okay, where do you need me? Now, if the advertisement is for an English teacher, I'm not going to send that resume that says I have a teaching license. I'm going to tell them I am an English teacher. Here's where I've taught English. Here's the level of English that I teach. Now, if the job advertisement says we need an elementary school teacher, that's a different resume than my English teacher resume, because now I've got to refine it to say I've taught second grade, I've taught fourth grade, I've taught, these are the readers, these are the primers that I use, because there's a lot of tools that elementary English teachers and math teachers use that are different from high school, that are different from university. So again, your capability statement follows the same. What are the core competencies for what can I do for you? Now that doesn't mean that, especially in businesses, can I, I have a lot of, I ask my construction contractors, do you sell apples? And they look at me and say, no, I don't sell apples. Wrong answer. I'm buying apples. There are almost 50 orchards here in New Mexico that sell apples. You don't think that as a construction manager who understands business, I couldn't go to one of those orchards and buy apples from them and sell them to the government? I know it's not what I want to do, but I can do that. Again, it's not what you're selling, it's what am I buying? Do you want that contract? And it's a simple one. Okay, so I'm a construction company. Do you do hauling of equipment? No. Well, that's not true. You've got tractors, you've got trailers. They haul your own equipment. Can you haul equipment? Can you become a transportation hauler instead of a construction company? The answer is yes. Well, I don't have enough trucks. How many folks do you know that have other trucks? How many other construction people do you know that have their tractors and trailers parked because they're not moving their equipment? Can you borrow it from them? Do you think they could, 2 men in a truck, movers? These are the folks that move small apartments. If I get 10 of these people together, I've got a moving company. 2 men in a truck isn't going to get you a contract. 10 men and 20 trucks is going to get, or 20 men and 10 trucks will get you a moving contract, even with Mayflower, with Beacons and those kind of folks. So you see where the mentality of strategizing comes in. Those are core competencies, not necessarily what you can do, but what else can I get for you? Past performance. Where have I done this? How many times have I done this? If I'm looking at my teaching license, where have I taught? I taught at this elementary school. I taught at that. If I'm looking for an elementary job, they could care less how many university classes I've taught. They don't care whether I've taught at a high school or how many high schools. They care how many times have you taught at an elementary school, and what grade levels and what equipment have you used? What tools have you used at elementary? That's what's important. Not that I can teach at high school or I could teach at the university level. They don't care. Okay. So again, your past, and not only your past performance, but the past performance of your team, other businesses that you bring on board. Okay. Differentiators. What makes me different from others? Everybody says I do it gooder. That doesn't work anymore. Because we're the best construction company in the world. Thank you very much. Talk to me later. Everybody's the best construction company in the world. You know that. You read your own information, read your own biography. You're the best. If you don't toot your horn, nobody else will. But again, what am I looking for? Okay. What is the government looking for as far as and this is where you go to those other websites and you say, well, okay, so the government is looking for construction workers, or let's say framers, who know how to use metal or do welding with aluminum to do aluminum buildings. Well, you're a framer, you're doing wood, that's not going to cut it. Where do you have experience with welding aluminum and doing metal framing, which is now the current effort going forward? Still a lot of wooden construction. Now, even in the old wooden construction business, how many of the what new tools do you have? And then you don't necessarily have to have experience in framing, but I've got a company that sells rafters, that sells lumber that has a reputation of being quality. It's not Lowe's and it's not Home Depot. I guarantee you that is not the quality of wood that the government is looking for. You got to have a lumber yard that knows that concentrates on treated wood. When you're doing your home projects and you hire a contractor, the first question you should ask is, where are you getting your supplies? Are you getting them from Granger or are you getting them from Lowe's? I'm not saying that these companies are bad, but they're homeowners. They're for me, the hobby guy. They're not for the professional person. If your bathroom is being built with materials that come out of Home Depot, I guarantee you in 5 years, you're going to have to replace that stuff because those boards are going to warp. They're only good for a certain amount of time, and that's why these guys change. I'm not bad mouthing these companies. Their products are okay, but if you're hiring a contractor, make sure that they're using quality products. That's what I need to see. Who are your suppliers? Corporate data. This is again, um, I can't. You got to give them, it's like on a resume. You got to have your email. Nowadays, if you don't have your social media, your Twitter, your Facebook, and all of those things listed. Back in my day, you had a telephone number. You didn't even have an email because we didn't have website back then. But your address and your telephone number was important, and fax numbers were important back then. They're no important now, but those are the credentials that you absolutely have to have. What are they looking for? And I'll show you those in a minute. Your relevant codes. Everything that the government or any procurement office, even commercial, does. The cities. These are the codes for construction. These are the codes we use for transportation. And they may be different. In construction, you have vertical, horizontal, wood. You have mobile. You have modular construction, which all of those have different NAICS codes. You got to know what it is that Uncle Sam is buying. Now, sometimes the government, and we're not all that smart, we just say, I want a car. Well, that's the way I put out the procurement. I want an automobile. Your responsibility is to come back to me and say, okay, you want an automobile with 4 tires? You want an automobile with 3 tires? You want a Chevy? You want a compact? You want a full car sedan? You've got to query me because we're not all that smart. I guarantee you, my degree is in agricultural engineering. I wrote contracts for NASA. What the heck does this man looking at you know about putting rockets in space? Not a darn thing, but I wrote those contracts. Do you think they were accurate? I had a lot of pushback sometimes from folks saying, well, what kind of rocket ship do you want? Well, isn't there only one kind, the kind that you light the fuse and it goes up? That's about how and you thinking that contracting officers know it all. They don't. That's why you have to look at your solicitation. And even though I call it construction, you may be doing me a favor by saying, hey, Adolfo, you're asking for a construction NAICS code for this project. It fits this other one better because of. You've just done me a favor. And people who do me favors, I remember them. I remember them the next time. And it may fall into the fact that, wow, you're the only guy that understood that. I'm going to change the code. And guess what? Now you're in a sole source procurement. I can issue it to you directly because you helped me. Okay. Trust me, contracting officers are not know-it-alls. They just know how to make a contract legal. Okay. Next slide. This is why contracting officers use capability statement. Sources sought. There's a project coming down the pike. We're going to build a hospital. We don't know how big. We don't know what size. We don't know what it's going to be made out of. We don't know how many divisions it'll have, how many floors. But we need somebody that knows how to build hospitals. That's a sources sought. Now, can you build with that information? Can you tell me you're going to build me? No. I have experience in building uh, clinics. I have experience in building uh, uh, doctors' offices. I have experiences in building hospitals. With That's what you're going to tell me. Okay, that's kind of where the source of SOT comes in. Teaming. This is my team. Who are they? What do they have? I don't know just how wide are you, but how deep are you? I've got a transportation company that tells me he's got 5 tractors and trailers to haul my equipment. Okay, the first question I'm asked, who is your backup equipment? Who's going to supply you with tractors if your tractors break down? And the first thing I hear is, my tractors don't break down. End of statement. My 2 men that are doing electrical work. Okay, what happens if one of you gets sick? Oh, we don't never get sick. Give me a break. All of those things fall into, no, I have a backup. I have 2 or 3 other companies that can come in and step in. I have an agreement with this dealership. I have an agreement with Universal Rentals. They will deliver to me a tractor within 24 hours. Now, you can't tell them, like when I go to Home Depot and I say, I want to reserve a skidster for some work. Well, that's a 3-month wait. I want to reserve a trailer to take my trash. Well, that's a 3-month wait. You can't have that. You've got to have an agreement with a transportation or an equipment company that guarantees you at least a 24-hour or maybe a 10-day response. Because the minute your truck breaks down, I don't have a transportation company. And your problem cannot become my problem. You've got to have a solution to it. You've got to have a plan B and a plan C and sometimes a plan D. That's where your teaming comes in. And you can't just say, well, I'll go down to the local 7-Eleven and I'll get some workers. No, you got to have these folks already vetted. You've got to have them already understand. Well, who are you going to hire? Who are you going to bring forward? And we can help you with that. The apexes we have vetted, we've already done that for you. We could now, the fact that you need to interview them because not everybody gets together. Ask my granddaughters. Grandpa, you don't know what I like. Well, I know what you need, but that's not who I like. Well, okay, well, then don't tell me what you like because that may not be what you actually need. Again, it's a dating game. You've got to be able to work with those people. And not everybody works with everybody. We get that. But you've got to have that at least done in advance. Subcontracting with a prime. The prime contractor has a responsibility. How many times do I get a call from a transportation company or a construction company say, Adolfo, do you have anybody that can staff me with my drivers left today? 4 of my drivers have the flu. 10 of them left. They decided to quit. That happens all the time. I don't have a welding company. The guy went out of business. Does that happen? Yes, it does. So again, be on the subcontractor list, be on their dugout, let them know that, and be able to deliver. Trade shows. When you go to a trade show, I mean, you've been to them. You're going to one at Res. They've got over 700 plus vendors out there, and you're going to look at it and say, well, I don't do luggage and I don't do all of the stuff. Guys, you never know what they need. Yes, you're going to have an advertiser out there. You're going to have one of those folks at the trade show that probably makes a product. Do they need transportation? Do they need hauling? Do they need equipment rebuilt? You never know. You'd be surprised when I go out to these conferences and I start talking to those vendors. And well, I don't do windows. Okay, but I know somebody that does. I don't bake, but I know somebody that does. I don't. All of you have advertisers. All of you have printers. All of you have other companies that you rely on to support you. Market them through you, because all you got to do then is make sure that their quality. Do you have anybody that does ABC? Yes, we do. I don't do it, but I have somebody that does, and here's their credentials. Be prepared at the trade show to push yourself to those vendors. You can't. They've got them. You've got their undivided attention. 700 plus of them. Now, this is where you carry all of your different capability statements, and I'll get into those in a minute. Okay. Now, these are the foundation for oral presentations to government agencies. This is where your elevator pitch comes in, and you'll see where it comes in when I get to that point. Next slide. These are the three types of capability statements that you should. Are you advertising for a teaching job? Okay, that means your resume, which is still limited to 2 pages, is going to say whether you can teach. You're a high school, you're a college professor level, high school teacher, elementary, private school, etc. Okay, that's going to be a door opener. You don't know what they're looking. You're introducing yourself to that public. This is when you don't know. What does DOD buy? What does DOE buy? What does the USDA buy? I want to see what they do. Well, here's my capability statements. Here's what I do. Here are the teams that I bring with me. Here's what I can. Do you need any of this? Okay. I'm a driver. I can drive stick. I can drive automatic. I can drive a Peterbilt. I can drive a pickup truck. Okay. I'm a driver. Okay. I'm just opening the door, telling you that that's one type of capability statement. If you've got an RFI or sources sought, I'm asking for a grade school English teacher. Don't tell me you can teach at the college level. I don't care. I need a elementary. So your capability statement will be targeted to that sources sought or RFI. If it's a request for proposal, can you drive a Peterbilt 18-wheeler? No, but I can drive a Mack. That's not what I asked you. I asked, can you drive a Peterbilt? Now it's even more specific. So depending on whether, and I can't emphasize enough. I talked to contracting officers who get an RFP out. This is how I want an outhouse built. I want it with a blue roof made out of aluminum, and I want it this way, and I want concrete this. So now tell me how you're going to build it for me using those criteria. And I get a capability statement that says, I can build hospitals. That has nothing to do with my outhouse. But that's your capability statement because guess what? That's the one I had available. And I told my clerk, attach the capability statement to there. It's like attaching my resume just because I have one. You got to understand what you're supporting because that's guarantee you that's going to go in the do not go any further file. So this is what happens in the office. And the complaint I have from contractors is nobody ever responds to me. Well, because you didn't send me anything that was interesting. Now, out of those 1,000, and you guys have been looking for jobs. You've had employment. You go out to a job fair. You send out 100 resumes. How many calls do you get back? Same process. You got to go through that. The better you make it. Now, if that school district was looking for a Native American with Keres language experience to teach elementary, and you're a Keres language speaker, you're going to get a call back. Why? Because you used that. You found out that that's a specific thing they were looking for. Okay. Anyway, next slide. Hard to see, but I'm going to give you a website you can go into and get a template. And I'll give you this. Even today, and I just did this yesterday. I went and asked, because it's a new year, I asked all of my 57 clients to send me their capability statements. Why do you think that in the history of resumes, they've always limited it to 2 pages? And this is the format. You go into any format and they'll tell you what you need to I don't need any color. I don't need any numbers. I don't need any pictures. I just need in this format, in this agenda. They even tell you in colleges, the Vitae, when they ask you to submit your Vitae, it's got a specific format limited to the number of words you can use. Okay, it's for a reason so that I can run it and scan it through my robotic equipment that I've used to pick out those magic words. If it's got pictures, the machine's going to go crazy. It's not even going to go through there. Again, I got a bunch of them. They're all different. You know, I don't need that. I need them to be all the same. Now, the government's not going to come out because I can't tell you what to do. When you send in your resume, and I can't, I know some of you guys don't, probably back in my day, we used to spend a ton of money on the weight of the paper, the color of the paper. If it was expensive paper, they looked at it. No, if it's junk, I don't care if it's on $1 million page, it's still junk. Okay, so look at it. If they want it in black and white, don't give me color stuff. Don't make it pretty. Don't give the government. I just want to know your capabilities. Too many times businesses confuse the capability statement with their website. Different. You can include your website in your resume, but don't repeat your website to me. I don't need pictures of a hospital that you built. I'm taking your word that you can build a hospital. Because if you're the one that I'm going to give the contract to, believe me, before I give you that contract, I'm going to know that you can build a contract because I've got technical people who can say, yep, this guy's a truck driver, or no, this guy can only tell you how to drive a truck. All he's been doing is driving trucks on joysticks, on video. He doesn't really have any idea what a truck looks like. So again, this is the kind of stuff you want. The interview, the resume gets you the interview. The interview gets you the job. The capability statement gets you the opportunity to submit a contract. You get the call back. Or you may be the 1 out of 4 that I need. And then your resume goes to my technical people. That's what you want. The rest of them, sorry, thank you very much for your interest, not interested. And again, in the federal government, you have a right. Any submission, anytime you submit for a proposal on an RFP, you have the right to a debrief. What was wrong with why did I not get the contract? Now, there are ways that you ask the question that the contracting officer or his team can respond. Was my price adequate? I can't answer that. Was my price in the price range? Yes. Was my did my technical effort meet the minimum requirements? Yes. What was wrong? What did I not include in my technical? I can't tell you that. You've got to be able to ask the questions correctly so that you get an idea. Because even in the Olympics, you only have one gold medal. Okay, and even if you have the bronze medal, the guy that came in fourth, even if he came in a tenth of a second later, gets nothing. You could be that fourth guy, that fourth contractor. There was nothing wrong with your contract. I only have one contract to offer, and I picked the top 3. You were was I in the running? Yes, you were. Don't change anything. It just wasn't your day to get the contract. It wasn't your day to win. Okay. Now, you weren't even close. I got a lot of work to do. I got to go back and see what I'm doing. Next slide. And I know I've got to push it real quick. These are this website with Health and Human Services. You'll get the template that I showed you in the previous slide. Now, Health and Human Services does not have the template for the government. But to me, I'm pushing all of my clients to use it because it's unique. Now you'll see a logo at the bottom of the last page that says targetgov.com. We can't advertise for any company, but these guys are the ones who came up with this format. And I wish, again, my opinion, I wish the government would go to this, because if I had this one page for every contract that was submitted, every contractor, it would make my life a lot easier. Okay. Now, the YouTube that I showed you there goes into explaining to you how does a person read a contract. In second grade, when I taught elementary, we used to teach kids how to do what they call the Z read. You start here, you read, you look at, you scan. Remember the old quick scan reading? That's what contracting officers and their clericals do. They scan your capability statements for keywords, key things. If they're not in that format, they go into the do not read file. So again, the Z read. Understand what the Z read means, and look at it yourself. And I'll give you an exercise to do, and then you guys can see what I'm talking about. Now the other website for HHS, that's the template for that I showed you that Target Gov uses. It's a little different format, and you'll see it as it comes in. Next slide. See, this is the template that comes out of IHS for a particular company. Basically the same things that I mentioned before in a little different format, but this is the Z read. Okay. I can scan through this thing, see if everything's there. Do they have preferences, past performance? See, I don't read through the past performance. Do they have it? That goes in the read further slide. I can't tell you how many. They don't include the past performance. You may be the contractor I need, but you didn't include that. It goes in the do not read file. It was a 3-page resume in the garbage. Why? Too long. Maybe you were the teacher I needed, but I never got to see you because you were 2 sentences or 1 page too far. Now, what I didn't show you on the capabilities now, the other half of your capability statement on the backside or a second page, the first half you should have your team, organizational logos, Granger, United Rentals. That just tells me that you've got a team. Now, I'm assuming that you have teaming agreements with them and you have vetted them, but knock out your logos from these. Look at major companies like Boeing and Lockheed Martin, Honeywell. See how they introduce their subcontractors. They introduce them by logos, because if I have the logo, I know who it is. Nike. Okay. I know what that brand is, and I know they've got quality. Next slide. Go into these companies and look at their capability statements, and you'll see what I'm talking about, where it's confusing. Even though these are my clients, and I love them dearly, and I work with them daily, I'm still pushing them because, again, I can't tell them how to put their capability statements together. All I can do is inform. But you'll see what a contracting officer looks at when they get and pull all of these and look at them and say, okay, who does what? And which one can I do? And I don't mean to bad. These are great companies. They've got a lot of contracts, but again, they're already on the in list. They're on the hit list. They're not like you trying to get in. Next slide. Now, this is, again, that ends the capability statements. I'm going to go through this one real quick because you can read it. Your basic elevator pitch. And this is the most important page in the whole thing. I help a company achieve this by doing this. Okay, that's your elevator pitch. Now they say it's got to be more than 60 seconds or 30 seconds. I give you examples here, and it happens to be a brick and mortar. Okay, I help brick and mortar stores create massive new revenue stream by selling their products online using. When somebody asks you, what do you do? I sell pens. No. I sell retractable pens that last time long and that a lot of companies use, and I've sold them to the last 50 or 60 companies, and they're still using them. Really? Next slide. Tell me why you went this route. Tell me about your pen. See, you want to get that next question. Here's what I do. I sell apples. Really? End of statement. No, I sell apples to uh, Kroger's. I sell apples to Smith's. I sell apples to the government. I sell apples. Really? How? Tell me more. If I'm in the apple business, I make apple wine. I do all kinds. Okay, now see, you want to get them to the next question. No, tell me, how do you do that? Well, there was this company that I had, blah, 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 blah. You can read through this kind of a format. This is about, this was a retail company that was, and you've seen them, a lot of foot traffic coming through all of a sudden, and we have them now. When Walmart, when Home Depot moved into Bernalillo, the two hardware stores we had all of a sudden died because we were used to go to those hardware companies because there was nothing else. Home Depot came on board, built outside the city limits. Guess where everybody goes now? So they lost that foot traffic. How do I get it back? Next slide. Well, I'm having that same problem. So how did you help me? Next slide. Well, I couldn't get the people back. I couldn't get Home Depot to go away. So I helped these guys go online and sell online. I set up an online market for them, blah, 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 blah. And this is how it works. Ah, okay. And I used it using YouTube, which is free. It's very inexpensive. There's a market for them. Amazon, hello. How many of you all shop Amazon? Wayfair. You don't even go out of your house anymore because they deliver for free. Give me a break. I mean, this is unique. This is your elevator pitch. Next slide. If you're looking for this kind of support, if you need somebody to build you a house for under 50,000, here's my card and here's my capability statement. Give me a call. I do that with my landscapers. I do that with the guys that come in and do my sprinkler systems. I do that with the guys that come in and do my tree pruning. I'm getting to the age where I can't even, I'd like to climb up on ladders and stuff, but I'm getting too old, and thank God and my luck, I have money to pay people to do that. My problem is I can only find middle-aged folks to do that. I used to hire high school kids to do even my Christmas ornaments. I couldn't get any high school kids to come put up my Christmas ornaments because it's not because I don't pay well. I'm offering them good money. It's just they don't have time. I can't help that. Anyway, that's the elevator pitch. And trust me, there's more examples of how to use, but the bottom line, the 4 steps are here. This is what I do, this is how I do it, and this is how I can do it for you. And the rest of this information on these slides, you can go through them pretty quickly, is just who we are, where we're located. Give us a call. This is our central number with the National Center. Give us a call. We'll get you hooked up with an accelerator or someone. There are other resource partners that you should have. The small business development centers in your locality, your VBOX, your Veterans Business Opportunities, your Women Business Centers, and your SCORE people. Those are other resources that are free to you, like we are, to support. Now, the problem I have with a lot of my younger clients is they know it all. Just like my high school kids, they knew it all. Can't teach them anymore. Not true. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Do you have any questions?
Let me see what we have in the chat box. Looks like we have some stuff. I was going to say hi, Adolfo from Multitech Inc. Other than that, we have, if you have questions, please put it in the chat box right now. We have one from Ren coming in. So let me see. Well, I have one. Well, we'll wait till that one comes. But what if the, oh, okay. Hi, Adolfo. Will these slides be going out to the participants?
That's
Am I able
yeah.
to send them out?
If you could, I send them to Kaya, and if she can send them out to you guys, I don't have a problem with you guys having them. And trust me, give me a call anytime. I'm here to support. I'm a straight shooter. I don't sugarcoat anything. You've seen that by me. I'm too old to sugarcoat. I'm not going to embarrass you. It's no different. I was a contracting officer for 16 years. The contracting officers I deal with today haven't changed. Can you teach a contracting officer something? Yes, all the time. They could use your help. Be a friend to your KO.
Okay, next we have Ren Barnes. Can you yes, you can, Ren. We'll go with Ren next. Ren's going to ask his question.
Hi, Adolfo. Thank you for the
Sorry.
presentation. I will be reaching out to you individually, probably to get some direction. My SAM is registered in one state and I have a mentor there, but I spend certain time in another state close to Marietta, Georgia. And I am getting no help from the SBA or Women-Owned Business or SCORE. I've reached out and their response has been, unless you provide your banking account routing numbers and banking codes so we can have access to your checking accounts, we won't schedule you with help with the SBA, which sounds really weird.
I can tell you right off the bat, that is a scam.
Well, that's literally from the SBDC in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I met
Wow.
the director here in person, and I showed up because they had a table set up, and they sent me to a link that unless I put in my checking account, and that's on a government website. So here I am
Wow.
right by Oak Ridge National Laboratory with certain types of experience, and also calling Oak Ridge and talking to Business Development Center and them not returning any of my calls. And I called them weeks ago. So I am at
let me give you some comfort here. I was the deputy director for the SBA here in New Mexico. And I can assure you, I'd like to get that link or that email that they're asking for that, because the small business SBA does not require that. And if that is a state requirement,
they will not let me continue on to even schedule an intake
understand.
appointment.
Okay, just send me that stuff, and I guarantee you, I'll get the SBA involved because they fund the SBDCs up to in the tune. They are the grant writer for the SBDCs
here. I'm sorry, none of the women-owned business centers will call me back.
Wow.
Also, I'm registered in Utah, and I was at the Native American Conference in Utah just a few months ago in October, and I do plan to be at Res in Vegas. I've done documentaries and filmed stuff with Cherokee Nation and so forth.
Let's you and I talk offline on this one. I think I can help you.
Sorry, I would love to.
No, that's right. I just don't want
to.
to. I want to give. I'm down to 3 minutes.
So sorry.
No, really, and please, that's not a push off. I need to talk to you offline, and I need to get some more details. And I think I can. I'm pretty sure I can help you.
Okay, I'll connect you to after this webinar. Joanne asks, should you highlight your social and economic status on your CAP statement?
This is I'm giving you this information. And you need to sell your capability before you sell your certifications. Okay, I'm a construction company and I can build an outhouse the way you want it. Great. Now, here's where your capabilities come in. the highlights. I'm a Native American. I'm a service-able vet. I'm a woman-owned business. Those are the things that, okay, let's say I pick 10 files out of the 1,000 that I get and I put them. I'm going back to those 10. I got to get down to 3. And this is what I'm going to tell my clerical. After you sort out that they're all can build the outhouse the way I wanted, now give me those details. Well, let's pick out. I'm my Native American shortfall. I'm looking for a woman-owned small business. Guess what? Out of those 10, there may be 2 that are woman-owned. Guess who gets the call? Those 2. That's where your capabilities come in. Should you have them? The answer is yes. When do you trump them? That's your ace card. Go ahead and include them and highlight them that yes, you are, but understand where they're going to be used. Just because you're a Native American business doesn't mean you build a good outhouse. Okay? I want to know that you build a good outhouse first before I decide which type and what are the credits I need.
Okay. And then from Monica, she asked, can you place government's logos on cap statements? Many do, but we have heard that that's a no. Thoughts?
Run that by me, that question on the.
Can you place government logos on cap statements? Many do, but we have heard that's a no. Can you give your thoughts on that?
2017, the department, the federal government put out a memo, and it's still in existence. Unless you have the permission of the agency to use their logo, you cannot use their logo. That's advertisement. Now, that being said, a lot of agencies are giving authority, so it's up for the asking. And a lot of companies, Air Force, Army, Navy, USDA, if you ask them, may I use your logo on my capability statements, and you have it in writing, even if it's an email, then yes, you can, because then when a contracting officer, and again, I'm giving you the rules. You're looking at the clerical. If that clerical paid attention in that class when they were going through the contracting officer rep class that said no federal logos can be on your capability statements, they're going to put it in the do not read file. So you're talking the clerical levels who basically, and I could never have done the things I've done without my clerical. Trust me, it's not a push. They are my backbone. They're the ones that say, if it doesn't say Haynes, it goes in the do not read file. So that's my answer. Yes, you can use the logos if you have permission. It's a 2017 memo to all agencies. So, if you don't have that letter, don't, and that's what we got to push. Now, do I see it in a lot of the capability statements? Yes. And I always send my clients that 2017 memo that unless you have permission from the agency, you cannot use their logo. And trust me, it takes less space to use DOD, DC, because if I see DOD, whether I see their logo, if I see Army, Navy, it doesn't. See, I just use that. And again, you're limited to space. When I see that, hey, if I see Army, Navy, Air Force, you're a DOD contract. You're a DIB. Now, again, I just took all that out. Remember, I told you at the very beginning, I am a DIB contractor. All I've got to do is, if I'm DOD, look in my database and find you, and you have a Department of Defense contract, you're a DOD contractor. I'm a GIB. I go into FPDS and I see that you've done business with USDA and with Homeland Security, you're a GIB. So again, replace those logos with DIB, GIB, and SIB. That's the new trend.
Okay, I'm just putting some information in the chat box about some upcoming events, but first, before I get to those, thank you so much, Adolfo. That's all the time we have for questions. No. I will be sending out an email with the presentation, today's presentation. The recording should be available later on, and I will email how to access that as well. And other than that, we have Res 2024 coming up March 11th through the 14th. And I put in the chat the link to the registration. We have early registration that ends on Friday. I'll also put that in the email as well. And then we have our NEIs coming out. We have our NEI in Seattle. So I put the link for that in the chat box as well. And then come February, we have our NEI coming up for Atmore, Alabama. So a lot of good information there. But thank you guys so much for attending, and thank you to Adolfo for presenting so much information, a lot of great information. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy your day.